Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to welcome you to the Manifested e-learning platform. The subject is Advanced Public Financial Management. Today, we are going to introduce a new topic known as Public Financial Management Reforms in Kenya. This topic is divided into three sections. 1, Establishment, Management, and Roles of Public Financial Management Reform. 2, Public Financial Management Reforms. 3, Overview of Development Partners and Donor Funds Management. And lastly, 4, Resource Mobilization Strategies by the Public Finance Management Reform, the PFMR. We will begin by introducing the Public Finance Management Reforms in Kenya. That is the establishment, the management, and the roles of the Public Financial Management Reform. Now, candidates, since independence, the government has undertaken various public finance reform initiatives. And the strategy for revitalization of public financial management system in Kenya played a prominent role in guiding reforms in the public finance management sector, and also building on the institutional transformation from the year 2006 to 2011. Now, the key areas were targeted for reforms including transformation of political priorities into annual budget allocations, the credibility of budget, the rollout of the integrated financial management system, that is the IFMIS, and the quality, the timeliness, and the accuracy of the financial reports. Those are the key areas that were targeted then. Now, the government of Kenya and the development partners supported the implementation of the strategy for public reforms under a collaborative memorandum of understanding. The government of Kenya and development partners. All right? Under what was known as a collaborative memorandum of understanding. Now, this memorandum of understanding provided for what we call bilateral direct support and a joint funding arrangement. And in addition, the Ministry of Finance then, on behalf of the government of Kenya, together with the key development partners who supported the strategy implementation, included the Canadian Development International Agency, that is CIDA, the Canadian Development International Agency. There was also the Embassy of Sweden, CIDA, Embassy of Sweden, and also the Embassy of Denmark, the Embassy of Denmark. We had the Norway, Embassy of Norway, and so on. And while the key bilateral partners were the USAID and the GIZ, with the expiry of the previous strategy coinciding with the implementation of the rich reform agenda that is prescribed in the Constitution, course, recall this was around the year 2011. The expiry of the previous reform agenda or strategies prior to the promulgation of the Constitution, which gave an impetus for, the Constitution gave an impetus for improving the governance structures and entrenching reforms, and which again became an immediate priority, the Constitution, because the expiry of the previous strategy, reform strategy, public finance management reform strategy, it expired or coincided with the implementation of the rich reform agenda that is prescribed in the Constitution. That is prescribed in the Constitution, the rich agenda, all right? Reform agenda. Now, candidates, I'm giving a background of the public finance management reforms in Kenya, and the Constitution of Kenya gives a great impetus for improving the governance, as we shall be seeing later on, the governance structures and enriching reforms, which the Constitution makes it a priority, an immediate priority. But before the Constitution, there were efforts by the government of Kenya and the development partners. And I have highlighted the key areas that were targeted for reform, and it included the transformation of political priorities into the annual budget allocations. The reform agenda then also included the credibility of budget, the rollout of the integrated financial management system, and also the quality, the timeliness, and accuracy of financial reports. That is prior to the promulgation of the Constitution. All right? And the previous reform agenda, I've said, coincided with the implementation of the rich reform agenda that is prescribed in the Constitution. Now, candidates, the Constitution of Kenya in chapter 12, the chapter 12 of the Constitution envisages the development and the implementation of wide range of legal and institutional reforms. Envisages what? A wide range of legal and institutional reforms. Allow me to make reference to chapter 12. Chapter 12 is about public finance, and part 1 deals with the principles and framework of public finance. Article 201 reads, the following principles shall guide all aspects of public finance in the Republic. A, there shall be openness and accountability, including public participation in financial matters. B, the public finance system shall promote an equitable society, and in particular, 1, the burden of taxation shall be shared fairly. 2, revenue shares nationally shall be shared equitably among national and county governments. Expenditures shall promote the equitable development of the country, including by making special provision for marginalized groups, and so on. So, the Constitution, I've said, envisages a wide range of legal and institutional reforms, and the Legal reforms include the enactment of the Public Finance Management Act, the enactment of key legislation such as the Public Finance Management Act, the Public Finance Management Act. There is also the reorganization of existing institutions, the reorganization of institutions like the National Treasury. We also have the establishment of new public finance management institutions like the Commission on Revenue Allocation. We have the, within the Constitution, we have also the Controller of Budget. After the promulgation of the Constitution, we had the Transitional Authority and so on. And these are institutions, legal and institutional reforms. The Constitution puts in place institutions. There are institutions that are reorganized in the new Constitution. There are new institutions that are set up like Commission on Revenue Allocation, the Controller of Budget, and so on. In our previous sessions in public finance, earlier lessons, in the lower levels in the CPS syllabus, we studied the role of the Controller of Budget, the role of the Auditor General. We have the role of the National Treasury in public finance management. Such institutions, that's what we are talking about. There are legal reforms like the enactment of various acts of parliament that help in the management and regulation of or implementation of what the Constitution envisages. The Constitution lays out the principles. I've read some of the principles in Article 201. That is part 1 of chapter 12, is about principles and framework of public finance. There is equitable sharing of national revenue. We have equitable share and other financial laws. All right. Again, there is establishment of various funds within the Constitution, like the Equalization Fund. All right. And also consultation on financial legislation affecting counties and so on. So the Constitution prescribes what we call rich reform agenda. And candidates, some of the institutions like the National Treasury, through the Public Financial Management Reform Secretariat, which is a department within the National Treasury, is the champion of the public reform initiatives. That is a department formed under the National Treasury. And the need for reforms, candidates, in the public financial management sector in Kenya arose out of the previous challenges that were faced and also the gaps identified that led to embezzlement of public funds, that led to the iniquities arising in resource redistribution nationally, and the centralized systems of governance with inadequate checks and balances. So the public finance management reforms in Kenya were aimed at making public financial management more efficient, more effective, more participatory, and transparent, resulting in an improved accountability and better service delivery. And candidates, the government of Kenya launched a comprehensive program known as the Public Financial Management Reform Program. The government of Kenya launched the Public Financial Management Reform Program. The Public what? Financial Management Reform Program, the PFMR program. The purpose was to strengthen public financial management systems, and that was in the year 2006. So the program supported reforms and capacity building in ministries and agencies central to implementation of the broader economic reforms in Kenya. Public Financial Management Reform Program. Now, candidates, the objective of the PFMR program was to make the public finance management more transparent, more accountable, and responsive to policy priorities. And essentially, it was a response to the realization that governance challenges in the public sector had for many years impacted negatively on Kenya's economic growth as well as economic development, contributing to increased cost of living, to increased cost of doing business in the country. It also led to the discouraging of the private investment, and it was an obstacle to addressing the widespread poverty and improving the quality of the life of the citizens. And the previous reform initiatives to deal with such problems yielded only what would be referred to as modest result. But after the election that was conducted in the year 2002, reform initiatives became a priority. The initiatives became more effective because several components undertook reforms to improve the fiscal discipline. They also brought in what we call resource allocations in line with development priorities, led to improved budget preparation, budget execution, improved financial reporting, as well as evaluation processes. And the development partners like the World Bank, the European Commission, Danida, Sweden, USAID, Norway, and the rest worked closely with the Kenyan government in implementing the reforms. Do you understand? Because the first phase of the program ended in 2011. The first phase ended in 2011, which is almost 1 year after the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution. And earlier on, I made mention of the Public Financial Management Reform Secretariat, which is a unit under the National Treasury, the unit that manages the public financial management reforms. And the unit's key role or overall role is to manage the implementation of the public finance management reform program. So let's highlight some of the other functions of this unit. That is the Public Financial Management Reform Unit. Public Financial Management Reform Unit, which is a unit under the National Treasury. What are the units? We have said the unit's overall role is to manage the implementation of the public finance management reform program. But there are other functions functions performed by this unit. What are the other specific functions? The overall function is to manage the implementation of public finance management reform. Now, other key functions include ensuring harmonization ensuring the harmonization, the prioritization, and sequencing. Prioritization and sequencing of reforms. Harmonization, prioritization, and sequencing of reforms. Number 2, the second function is development of the Secretariat's institutional capacity. Development of the Secretariat's institutional capacity. There is also program monitoring. Program monitoring and evaluation. Program monitoring and evaluation is another function played by the unit. Preparation of progress reports. These are quarterly progress reports. It is the function of the Public Finance Management Reform Unit to prepare the program's quarterly and annual progress reports. 5, the fifth function is the development of the capacity of implementing agencies on monitoring and evaluation and reporting. All right? Development of capacity of implementing. Development of capacity of implementing the monitoring and evaluation. All right? The monitoring and evaluation and reporting. Develop the capacity to implement monitoring and evaluation and reporting. Carrying out monitoring and evaluation activities. Carrying out monitoring and evaluation missions on PFMR activities. Do you understand? There is also a role in relation to training. Training, it is the function of the PFMR unit to do what we call monitoring the implementation of the program's training plan, program vehicle assignment and utilization, training plan, monitoring. Developing, number 8, and sustaining. Another role is developing and sustaining capacity within the Ministry of Finance. and sustaining capacity within the Ministry of Finance to ensure that it fulfills its lead role in the planning and implementation of public reform, public finance management reform program. This unit also develops database. It is a function of the unit to develop a database of all the public finance management reform related reports. Updating. What does it update? The unit updates the program implementation plan. Program implementation plan. Updating program implementation plan. 11, consolidation of the annual work plans. Annual work plans. Consolidation of the annual work plans together with the cost estimates submitted by implementing agencies for the purpose of preparing the program's annual budget. So these are some of the functions of the unit, the Public Financial Management Reform Secretariat, which is under the National Treasury. And I said that the overall role of this unit is to manage the implementation of the public finance management reform program. These are the other key functions of the unit. I've given you 11 functions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now, candidates, these are not the only functions. There are many functions, more than 30 functions. I've only given you 11. There are many more functions of the Public Finance Management Reform Unit, like the coordination of the PFM reform budget with the national budget. Another function is the preparation of quarterly allocation plans consistent with the annual work plans and cost estimates as a basis for a drawdown from the program's common fund. Another function is the provision of financial management services for the program, including preparation of expenditure returns, financial monitoring reports. We have the cash flow forecasts, processing of payments for goods and services rendered on behalf of the implementing agencies, and so on. Another function is the maintenance of the program's financial management information system. The unit also does what we call exchequer requisition and disbursements on behalf of the implementing agencies. The unit carries out maintenance of the Secretariat's payroll, generally. Another function is the development and implementation of the program's communication strategy and implementing plan. So there are many functions, including regularly updating for relevance and currency, the website of the PFMR. That is in relation to communication. There could also be another function that is in relation to collating information, laying out and designing the program's newsletter. You've heard about the Wajibika newsletter. Wajibika. So there are many functions of the PFMR unit under the National Treasury. But now let's move on and study a bit on the current reforms in public finance management. The current reforms. We've been studying the background, the establishment, the management, and the roles. We've looked at the background, the context leading to the promulgation of the Constitution. Now let's move on to the current situation. The reform, public finance management reform. Let me call it current. Now this word current can mislead if I don't quote the year. I'm making this recording, this video, we are recording this video lecture in the year 2022. The year 2022. So when I say the current public finance management reform program, now this reform program, the current public finance management reform program is spelled out, it is spelled out in the 2018, it is spelled out in the 2018-23 paper. Okay? Public finance reform paper or strategy. The current public reform program is spelled out in the 2018 to 2023 public finance management reform strategy. There is a 2018 to 2023 public finance management reform strategy. This is a 5-year strategy. And this strategy is overarching all the public finance management reforms in Kenya. It overarches all. And the objectives of this reform strategy, the objectives of the 2018 to 2023 public finance management reform strategy, number one, is to enhance the collection. First of all is the collection, the accounting, and reporting. 3 things: collection, accounting, and reporting of public revenues. And that is both in the national and county governments, in line with the macroeconomic fiscal policies to enhance collection, accounting, and reporting of public revenues. In both the national and county governments, in line with the macroeconomic fiscal policies. The second objective of this strategy is to ensure participatory, effective, and equitable allocation of public funds in line with the national and county government priorities. To do what? To ensure participatory, the public has to participate in all these processes. Effective and equitable. Participatory, effective, and equitable allocation of public resources or funds. and that has to be in line with the national and county government priorities. 3, to ensure effective and efficient budget. To ensure effective and efficient budget utilization. To ensure effective and efficient budget utilization, accuracy, and timely accounting and reporting, and also the effective scrutiny and review of expenditure of public resources. Scrutiny. That is where we have the office, different constitutional offices carrying out the audit of public funds, like the Auditor General. We have also various acts of Parliament that helps in the process of scrutinizing. We have the office, constitution offices like that of the controller of budget and so on. So this strategy, paper or strategy, reform strategy, this reform strategy ensures the effective and efficient budget utilization, and accurate and timely accounting and reporting, and effective scrutiny and review of expenditure of public resources. To ensure accountability, number 4. Accountability. It is a function or the objective of the PFM's reform strategy to ensure accountability of public resources, oversight, effectiveness, and lawfulness in the collection and application of public funds. 5 is to establish and implement a framework, and implement a framework of fiscal decentralization. Fiscal decentralization. A framework of fiscal decentralization, and to facilitate timely disbursements and efficient delivery of services in a transparent and accountable manner. 6, to develop. Another function is to develop a consistent and harmonized public finance management system. That is legal and institutional framework. Legal and institutional framework. Develop a consistent and harmonized. All right? We talked about the chapter 12 of the Constitution on public finance. The Constitution introduced the legal and institutional framework, or reforms. Legal and institutional reforms. So the Constitution lays out the principles. But it's a role of the public finance management reform strategy to develop a consistent and harmonized public finance management legal and institutional framework. Harmonized, because candidates, there are various bodies or parties or players in the finance management, public finance management sector. The public sector. There are various parties that deals with the issues to do with the management of public. So there ought to be a consistent and harmonized legal and institutional framework Otherwise, people or parties will be pulling in different directions. There ought to be a harmonized legal and institutional framework to achieve the objectives that are laid out or in the Constitution, like the equitable sharing of resources and so on. Seven, to automate and integrate the public finance management systems. To automate and integrate the public finance management systems which facilitate efficient and effective execution of all financial management processes that would also eliminate risks and enhance security and financial controls in all service areas, including the interconnectivity of county units. Automation. Then there is to ensure still related to integration, to ensure efficient and effective coordination. To ensure efficient and effective coordination, effective planning. Planning has to be effective, has to be efficient. We can also say the monitoring, communication. Because remember again, candidates, there are various parties. You are dealing with the operations of the whole government, both at the national level and the county level. The 47 counties, the national government. There are many government entities. There are many employees within the government, and all of them are to work towards achieving common objectives, one of them being service delivery. So the objective of the public finance management reform strategy is to ensure efficient and effective coordination, planning, monitoring, communication, and also implementation. Of the public finance management, reform program activities. To ensure efficient and effective coordination, planning, monitoring, communication, and implementation of public finance management reform program activities. So these are 8 objectives of the 2018 to 2030 public finance management reform strategy. I've given you 8 objectives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, before we close the lesson, I'm going to give you an assignment from the Advanced Public Finance Management paper that was done on Thursday, 4th of August, 2022, the morning paper, question number 4. I read it. Your country has undertaken public financial management reform initiatives and currently is working on implementation of 2018 to 2023 public finance management reform strategy. This strategy seeks to build on the success of previous public financial management reforms to date and address the challenges encountered. So that's what we've been studying in this lesson. I took you through the history of public finance management reform in Kenya, what the government has been doing together with the development partners, such as Sweden, SIDA, DANIDA, and so on, going down up to the 2010 Constitution, which you've said that the Constitution in Chapter 12 lays down legal and institutional reforms. So I've gone through to what the National Treasury has been doing under the Public Finance Management Reform Unit. I've given you some of the functions of the unit. I highlighted 11 here, but gave you more. There are around 40 functions of this unit. And then we've come down in closing to the current public finance management reform program. Current, because we are making this video in 2022. So there is a public finance management reform strategy that was put in place to cover the period 2018 to 2023. Now, the students who appeared in the paper on August 2022, on Thursday, there is a question here that was tested, and I repeat. Your country has undertaken public finance management reform initiatives, has undertaken. I've took you through what has been happening. Then the question says, and currently is working on implementation of 2018-20 to 2023 public financial management reform strategy. I've given you the details of the objectives of this reform strategy. Now, the question reads, this strategy seeks to build on the success of previous public finance management reforms to date and address the challenges encountered. You are required, Roman 1, analyze the objectives of the public financial management reform initiatives undertaken in your country. Analyze. That one is very simple. These are the objectives. Roman 2. Describe the challenges faced by the government in undertaking public financial management reforms. This again you can answer based on what we've been discussing in this lesson. Try and find out what are the challenges faced by the government in undertaking public finance management reforms. Thank you for attending the lesson. The topic is public financial management reforms in Kenya. We are in that topic. This is the topic. In our next session, we'll look at the public overview of the development partners and donor funds. Then we'll study the resource mobilization strategies by the public finance management reform. Thank you. God bless you. Bye-bye.